My name is Alex. For a year, I drove for CityDrive, one of the biggest ride-sharing apps. Every day, I picked up dozens of people, commuters heading to work, tourists exploring the city, late-night revelers heading home. You tap, you book, you ride. It's supposed to be seamless, convenient, and safe. You trust the app, you trust the rating, you trust the driver. I was that driver. And I saw firsthand how that trust was systematically broken, not just by rogue individuals, but by a system riddled with loopholes and dark incentives. I started driving because I needed the money. It offered flexibility and the promise of good earnings. At first, it was just like any other job. Pick up, drop off, simple. But the longer I drove, the more I understood the ugly truth behind the shiny app interface. The gig economy isn't always about freedom. Sometimes, it's about desperation, and desperation breeds dark practices. The first thing I learned about was fare manipulation. The app calculated the fare, right? Wrong. Not always. Some veteran drivers, struggling to make ends meet with low base fares and high gas prices, developed ingenious ways to inflate prices without the passenger even realizing it. The most common was the ghost ride, or phantom passenger. This often happened when a passenger canceled at the last minute, or if a driver accidentally or intentionally marked a pickup when they weren't actually with the passenger. Instead of canceling, some drivers would simply start the trip anyway. The app would begin calculating the fare, often sending the driver on a winding, unnecessary route. The passenger, confused, might call or text, but the driver would ignore it, eventually ending the trip with a ridiculously high fare for a ride that never actually happened. The passenger would then have to fight with customer support to get a refund, a process often designed to be frustratingly difficult. I saw drivers doing this, adding hundreds of thousands of dong or dollars in other currencies to their weekly earnings, all from ghosts. Then there was the GPS trickery. The app uses GPS to track the route and calculate the fare. But some drivers used apps or devices that could manipulate the GPS signal. They would make it look like they were taking a much longer, more convoluted route than necessary. Imagine taking a straight 5 kilometers road, but your app shows you weaving through side streets, adding 2 to 3 kilometers to the total distance. The passenger, looking at the map on their own phone, would just see the car moving and assume it was a legitimate route, unaware that the GPS signal was being spoofed, adding minutes and kilometers, and inflating the fare by 20 to 30%. It was a silent theft happening right under the passenger's nose. The most disturbing part for me was the rating game and passenger data. Our ratings were everything. A low rating meant fewer rides, less income, and even deactivation. This created an environment where some drivers would go to extreme lengths to avoid a bad rating. If a passenger complained, even legitimately, or seemed difficult, some drivers would immediately rate them 1 star to try and get them flagged by the system, just to punish them or prevent them from matching with them again. It was a petty, vindictive game that warped the entire feedback system. But worse, some drivers started looking at passenger data beyond just the pickup and drop-off. If a passenger frequently took rides from certain locations, like bars, clubs, or even discreet hotels, drivers would sometimes try to infer their habits or even their personal lives. I once overheard a group of drivers discussing a female passenger's frequent late-night pickups from a specific nightclub, speculating about her activities. It made my skin crawl. Our jobs gave us a unique, almost invasive, glimpse into people's private routines, and some drivers were using that access for gossip, judgment, or worse. The phone, which was supposed to connect them, became a window for intrusion. I even heard whispers of drivers who, if they encountered a particularly attractive or wealthy-looking passenger, would try to obtain their contact details or even track their patterns for non-work-related reasons. The thought of that level of violation, of a private ride turning into a data mining operation or a stalking opportunity, sent a chill down my spine. The passenger, feeling secure in their anonymity, was completely unaware of the unseen eyes behind the wheel, compiling their digital footprint. It was as if the car, a private space, was no longer private at all. And the driver was not just a service provider, but a silent, unsettling observer. The small-time scams like GPS trickery and ghost rides were just the tip of the iceberg. As I spent more time driving for CityDrive, I started to see the truly disturbing depths of desperation and exploitation that the system fostered. The pressure to make money was immense. Drivers worked long hours, often 6 or 7 days a week, just to meet their basic needs. This exhaustion, combined with the anonymity of the job, sometimes led to chilling breaches of safety and trust. I remember picking up a group of young women late one Saturday night. They were clearly intoxicated, laughing loudly, barely able to tell me their destination. One of them fell asleep almost immediately. As I drove, I saw the driver ahead of me, another CityDrive car, taking a suspiciously long route with his own drunk passengers. He was weaving slowly, making unnecessary turns. I knew what he was doing, long-hauling drunk passengers. These drivers would intentionally extend the trip, driving in circles, or taking detours that added significant time and cost, knowing the passengers were too inebriated to notice or complain effectively. It was preying on vulnerability, a form of digital pickpocketing. The thought of my own passengers, especially those as vulnerable as the women in my car, being subjected to that, made my stomach clench. But the most disturbing trend I witnessed was not just about money. It was about safety and the absolute disregard for the rules. The app required drivers to maintain their vehicles, but many couldn't afford it. I saw cars with bald tires, broken headlights, or even missing mirrors. Drivers would sometimes swap license plates between vehicles to avoid detection, or use cars registered to other people. The safety checks were a joke. A quick glance at the dashboard, a vague promise that everything was fine. You were essentially stepping into a rolling death trap, driven by someone under immense financial pressure, and the app's safety features were just for show. Then there was the driver swapping. Some drivers, to meet their daily quotas or avoid deactivation, would share their accounts with unregistered individuals. I'd pull up to a pickup point and see a different face than the one on the app. It might be a friend, a relative, or even someone desperate for quick cash who didn't pass CityDrive's background checks. This meant passengers were getting into cars with unvetted, untraceable drivers, potentially with criminal records or without proper licensing. The terrifying thought was, if something went wrong, who would be accountable? The face on the app was not the face behind the wheel. The sense of security the app promised was a complete illusion. The truly chilling incidents were whispered about in hushed tones among drivers. The occasional report of a passenger going missing after a late-night ride, or strange encounters that were never officially reported to CityDrive. While I never witnessed anything so extreme firsthand, the casual disregard for rules and safety standards created an environment where anything felt possible. The car, once a symbol of convenience, began to feel like a very isolated, vulnerable space. The constant exposure to these underhanded tactics began to erode my own sense of honesty. The apps were constantly pushing for more rides, lower fares, making it harder and harder to earn a living wage without resorting to some form of manipulation. I felt the pressure mounting. My own vehicle was getting old, needing expensive repairs. I saw other drivers, good people, being forced into these shady practices just to survive. The line between right and wrong became blurred, almost invisible, in the pursuit of the next fare. Every time I looked in the rearview mirror, seeing the trusting faces of my passengers, I felt a deep unease. They were oblivious, scrolling on their phones, listening to music, completely unaware of the unseen risks lurking just beneath the surface of their convenient ride. The smiles I put on, the polite conversation I made, it all felt like a mask. The vehicle was no longer just a car. It was a confined space, a mobile chamber of secrets and potential dangers, driven by desperate men in a desperate system. The ghost in this machine wasn't a glitch. It was the chilling realization of how fragile trust truly was, and how easily it could be broken on every single journey. The pressure to conform, to turn a blind eye, to even participate in the scams, gnawed at me daily. Every pickup became a battle with my conscience. I saw the desperation in my colleagues' eyes, but also the cynical acceptance of unethical practices. The road, once a symbol of freedom, now felt like a cage, trapping me between dwindling earnings and a rapidly eroding sense of right and wrong. The images of drunk passengers being long-hauled, of rickety cars ferrying unsuspecting families, of unseen eyes scrutinizing personal data, they haunted my waking hours and invaded my dreams. The breaking point came one rainy Tuesday night. I accepted a ride request for a young woman from a bar district. The app showed her location, but when I arrived, she was already in another CityDrive car, pulling away. Confused, I went to cancel. But then I saw my colleague, Mark, a hardened veteran driver, at the wheel of that other car. He glanced at me, his eyes wide, and shook his head almost imperceptibly, signaling me not to cancel. I understood. He had stolen my ride, picked up my passenger while I was en route. But he expected me to not cancel so he could start the trip on my app, effectively getting paid twice for one ride. It was a brazen act of double-dipping, stealing directly from the company and manipulating the system. I watched his car disappear into the rain, my passenger completely unaware she was caught in a fair fraud. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. The rain lashed against the windshield, mirroring the storm inside me. This wasn't just about my integrity anymore. It was about being an active tool in someone else's blatant crime. The line I had tried so hard not to cross was now being dragged across by others, using my identity. I opened the CityDrive app, not to start a ghost ride, but to go offline. Then, I closed it. For good. I drove home in silence, the empty passenger seat feeling heavier than ever. The next morning, I returned the CityDrive decal and uniform. Mike, my former manager, just scoffed. Another one bites the dust, huh? Couldn't handle the grind? You'll be back, Alex. They always come back. I never did. It's been over a year since I left CityDrive. I now work as a delivery driver for a local business, with clear hours and a stable income. The pay isn't glamorous, but my conscience is clear. Yet, the experience changed me profoundly. Every time I see a ride-sharing car, I can't help but wonder. I see the tired faces of the drivers, the unsuspecting passengers lost in their phones, and I know the unseen risks they're exposed to. The ghosts of those manipulated rides, those violated trusts, those dangerous journeys, they still echo in my mind, a chilling reminder of the dark underbelly of convenience. My experience in the ride-sharing industry revealed a terrifying truth. The convenience of a tap-and-go ride can often hide a complex web of deceit and danger. You're putting your safety, your privacy, and your money into the hands of a stranger. And not every driver or every app system is designed to protect you. So, how can you protect yourself? Always verify your driver and car details through the app before getting in. Don't rely solely on the car model. Check the license plate and driver's photo. Share your trip details with a trusted friend or family member. If the driver takes an unusually long or strange route, or if the fare seems drastically different from the estimate, question it immediately and contact customer support. Trust your gut feeling. If something feels off, get out safely. Remember, your journey should be about reaching your destination, not about becoming another victim of an unseen scam. Thank you for listening to this raw confession from the dark underbelly. If Alex's story made you look at your next ride a little differently, remember to like this video, share this crucial warning with everyone you know, and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another stark revelation. We'll continue to expose the hidden dangers in every profession. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and remember, not every ride is as straightforward as it seems.